Hello, BookTube. I did indeed get a second shipment of mail. Kind of amazing, considering the vast amount of earth-shattering construction going on directly outside my front door. But the mail service is indefatigable, unless there's a hint of rain. So I have another plastic tub. Once again, I have not caught my mail person. I need the pile of discarded plastic tubs is steadily growing in the front foyer. Sooner or later, I will have 10 of them to hand over to the next person I catch. But in the meantime, we have a fairly good selection here. Some envelopes and 2 boxes. One of which I suspect is from one of you, because it's covered in tape, which is not necessary to do, to mail it anywhere in the known solar system. But we'll start with the manila envelopes here. Start with this one. It's very light, probably a small thing. What have we got here? Okay. This is from Restless Books. I don't know this at all. Is this going to be a paperback? Yes, it is. This is going to be a paperback in July. It's by Fernando Torres, translated by Eric Becker, and it is called Glory and its Litany of Horrors. Let's see here. Maria Cardoso's meteoric rise to fame begins in the early 60s, when the promise of sex and revolution permeates the Rio air. This takes place in Rio de Janeiro. He debuts in a Marxist troupe of acting students bent on awakening the masses, tastes glory when a turn in Uncle Vanya renders him a counterculture sex symbol, pushes the limits of method acting on stage and off as a degenerate pimp with an older prostitute, and finally cashes in as the star of a primetime soap opera. But stardom, the fever of acting, and the decadence it affords take their toll, and middle-aged Mario finds himself with an ebbing reputation, an ebbing hairline, and an ebbing bank account. He needs a royal comeback. Enter King Lear. All right. Okay, this sounds fun. A riotous novel of an actor's midlife crisis. Okay, all right. All right, this comes out in July. It's translated from the Portuguese. I don't think I will wait until July. That description really did the trick. I have known many actors. They are one of the only professions I know of that manages to be in a midlife crisis all the time, from late teens right until the end. But which it makes them a little bit tiring for ordinary people, but also endlessly entertaining. So let's move on. That's a promising start. A comic novel. Let's see what this next one is. It's a finished copy from Harvard University Press. Comes out in early May. This is by Susan Ware, and it is called Why They Marched. Untold Stories of the Women Who Fought for the Right to Vote. Did we ever see this in an advance copy? I don't think we did. May of 1919. Yeah, I remember that book we saw, Mr. Wilson, How Long Must We Wait? Which is about one suffragette. A Republican congressman from Illinois put forward a resolution to approve an amendment to the Constitution granting women the right to vote. The measure passed the House by a wide margin, and 2 weeks later, on June the 4th, the Senate passed the 19th Amendment, which became part of the U.S. Constitution on August 26, 1920. Also the subject of a great book called The Woman's Hour. I'll try and remember to list all these below, but The Woman's Hour you should not miss. The 100th anniversary of one of modern America's most impactful accomplishments will usher in celebrations of the iconic leaders of the women's suffrage movement, all white and native-born. Yet the real story of how American women won the right to vote is far more racially, religiously, and geographically diverse than this snapshot would suggest. And this book is designed to set that record straight. The author, Susan Ware, is a celebrated feminist historian and biographer. Okay, great. Well, I think the subject is fantastic. So this will go right along with a lot of the books that I've been reading on it, both this year and last year. I'm pausing only because of the current political climate in America, where the current occupant of the White House, were he to go out into a campaign rally, one of his infamous white-shirted, white hood, brown-shirted, Nazi-saluting campaign rallies, if he were to go to one of those rallies and say, the audience would be half women, and say that he wanted to appeal the 19th Amendment, explain what it was, and say that he wanted to repeal it, that women really shouldn't have the right to vote because so many of them have sued him over time, the women in the audience would applaud. So it's a weird, surreal moment. The legal rights of American women have never been in greater peril right across the board than they are right now. And yet the American women voting bloc could remove anyone from office and put anyone in office. It's the political study of the 21st century in American politics. I don't know about other countries. I can guess what some of you in England would say. But I think the defining study, thematic study of American politics in the 21st century, when it is written, if it's ever allowed to be written, will be the science of the wide-scale phenomenon of people voting against their own self-interest. Not unknowingly, but openly voting against their own self-interest, where the person they're voting for, the party, the ideology, the line that they're voting for, is explicitly, openly against their own self-interest, and they vote for it anyway. That phenomenon has always existed, but it's never, in American politics, it has never existed anywhere near the scope that it has today, where vast amounts of the population are knowingly voting against their own self-interest. A couple of commentators that I like, including a couple of much maligned conservative commentators, have posited what seems to me to be the only possible explanation for this. For how on earth can you explain people voting to harm themselves? What could possibly supersede the basic instinct towards self-preservation, towards self-interest? What could possibly be strong enough to supersede that in such a wide percentage of the population? And some commentators have said the only thing they can think of that would do that is tribal orientation, a sort of tribal groupthink. One particular commentator was rather indelicately compared it to ant colonies, where if a flash flood washes a whole ant colony out into open water, the ants will congregate into a ball, and several hundred of them will intentionally become the basis of that ball, drowning in the process. They are definitely moving against their own self-interest for the sake of the tribal identity. I have to think something like that might be true, but I don't know where that tangent came from, but I assure you, I can assume that even a book by a feminist historian will not reach that far. I just reached way too far. I have a feeling, I think it's because I think it's going to be a feminist-sensitive day for Steve in his news browsing. Especially, not news browsing, in his YouTube browsing. My YouTube browsing, I think, is going to be feminist-sensitive because the new Star Wars teaser trailer dropped. It is not going to please the knee-jerk sexist critics of the new Star Wars movies, the people who have gone to extraordinary lengths, especially on our beloved YouTube. I tell you, those of you who don't look at YouTube other than BookTube, I've said it before, I'm sure you've heard it from other BookTubers, you really don't have any idea how incredibly, bottomlessly toxic the rest of YouTube is. You're better off not looking at any of the rest of it. I, for my sins, do. And, oh my God, the fanboys, all boys, and none of them boys, if you know what I mean, none of them chronologically boys, the 40-something fanboys of Star Wars that have gone just ballistic over the character of Rey, the character of Rose Tico, just ballistic over what they perceive as the fourth wave, blue-haired, feminist, ideological drift of Star Wars in the last couple of movies. This teaser trailer is going to give them aneurysms. But before they die, they're each going to make 100 videos. and there's going to be some very ugly stuff. It's gathering tsunami force right now, so it will start to break tonight and tomorrow, and then for the next 2 weeks, there'll be hundreds of YouTube videos of just bile and vitriol, and some of it I think will probably be very ugly. Some of those commentators I actually think make some points, but boy oh boy. If you watch, I know this is still a tangent, you knew this when you married me. If you watch, for instance, 20 of the highest rated, the most viewed vitriolic YouTube response videos, analysis videos, condemnation videos about, for instance, The Last Jedi, the last Star Wars movie. Not Han Solo, not Solo, but the last Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. If you watch 20 of those videos, and without having seen the movie, and then on Netflix you watch the movie, you will believe that you have taken crazy pills. To quote the great Mugatu, you'll think you've taken crazy pills. The movie is incredibly good. It's incredibly entertaining and moving. And if you hadn't known that before you watched those 20 videos, you would think that they were talking about the worst abomination that has ever happened in the history of cinema. There's a split, in other words, and it's directly along feminist lines. And I have seen critiques of The Last Jedi on one end of the spectrum that go at its plot holes and the problems with it, and some of those are definitely there in the movie, and they are legitimate points of criticism. They would be there in any Star Wars movie, including the Star Wars movies that these guys love. But nevertheless, they are interesting to talk about. But at the other end of the spectrum of those videos are just guys getting in front of a camera on YouTube and saying things just anyway, let's move on. Let's try and get out of this quagmire. This next one is a thick Finnish copy of some kind. Oh, okay. All right. This is also from Harvard University Press. This comes out, I think, in early May. Yes. No, this comes out in a week. And it will come, when you look at this, it will come as no surprise to you that I completely failed to get any editor interested in letting me review this for their audience. I will review it myself because it's important. But no one was willing to step on a live hand grenade just to give me a byline. This is by Benny Morris, and Dror Zevi. And it is called The 30-Year Genocide, Turkey's Destruction of Its Christian Minorities, from 1894 to 1924. This has a sepia tone faded black and white photo, but in this case, I'm not begrudging it. And I don't think we saw this on this channel. This is a reappraisal of the giant massacre perpetuated by the Ottoman Empire and then the Turkish Republic against their Christian minorities. Much has been written about the Armenian, Greek, and Assyrian genocides that unfolded in the Ottoman Empire from the late 1890s to the 1920s. Most discussions look at the violence in the areas as distinct, isolated events that were independent from one another. The century or so that has passed since allows us to see a bigger picture. The authors tie together for the first time these disparate threads of savagery spanning the last years of the Ottoman Empire and the first years of the Turkish Republic. This book is an account of how 3 cycles of ethnic violence in Turkey, the Hamidian massacres from October of 1895 to January of 1896, the Armenian genocide from 1915 to 1916, and the Kemalist cleansing of the remaining Armenians and Greeks from 1919 to 1921, were in fact one event. Morris and his co-writer, I don't want to massacre the person's name a second time, argue that they should be studied as one large genocidal process, a continuous giant crime against humanity that reduced Christians from 20% to 2% of the population of Asia Minor. An incendiary subject, of course, and this is a revisionist account of an incendiary subject, and I loved it. To the extent, in the conflicted way that you can love a book like this, it's grotesque and horrifying, but I thought it was brilliantly done, and knowingly controversial. So it's hard to find. I mentioned before on this channel that I do not have right now the entree with a lot of openly political book review venues. The Nation, the New Republic, something like that might have taken a gamble on this. Right now, I don't have the entree to those places. The entrees come and go. Editors come and go. And I would do it. But I'm obviously not going to write about a subject like this for the book review section of a newspaper in Abu Dhabi. It's tricky to do. I'll have to do it on my own. It's one of the many, as I've mentioned many times, it's one of the many benefits of having a venue of your own. That's small. Open Letters Review is a venue of my own. It's small, but it's well respected. We have a pretty good masthead, if I do say so myself. And if I do work there, well, then I'm a small part of the conversation, which is what I want. That's what I want. I have plenty of venues to be bigger venues to be part of other conversations. But for something like this, all right. So those are the envelopes. Now we're going to move on to the boxes. And the first box is non-controversial. It's just from a publisher. It's fairly light. Let's see what we have here. It certainly does not require scissors because it's just got the threaded tape, and I can mangle that because I don't have any sense of touch. So I can just rip these things apart. It's not going to bother me. So what have we got here? A big finished copy of something. Also from Harvard University Press. Wow. Okay, so this is Harvard University Press again. Okay. All right. This is a finished copy of something. I don't think I ever got I don't think I ever got the advanced copy of this. I'm glad to have it. This is Fiona McCarthy, who's fantastic. I loved her book on William Morris. I loved her book on Lord Byron, but I didn't really agree with much of it. It's a book to have, definitely, but this is a biography of Walter Gropius, the man who built the Bauhaus. This is one of the main architects of the absolutely fraudulent travesty known as modernism. Let's see here. The impact of Walter Gropius can be measured in his buildings. It certainly can be. They all look atrocious. And then it lists all of his atrocities. Countless masters were once disciples of the Bauhaus in Germany and at Harvard. Between 1910 and 1930, Gropius was at the center of European modernism and avant-garde society glamour, only to be exiled to the anti-modernist United Kingdom during the Nazi years. Later, under the democratizing influence of American universities, he became an advocate of public art and cemented a starring role in 20th century architecture and design. So this is a kind of an impasse that I encounter. Yeah, this is 15th of April. This is right coming up. Okay, I'll have to read this right away. This is an impasse that I encounter quite a bit, where a big new biography will, obviously important biography, will be written of a person or a subject or a leader or a movement or whatever that I already hate. And then I just have to make the distinction between agreeing or liking on aesthetic grounds any of the things that the book is about, and appreciating the work of biography that the book is. I've had to do that with modern painters. I've had to do that with crappy modern poets. And I will do it now with a crappy modern architect. It's definitely part of the job. I want to know about these things. This is all I read. Okay, so that is the academic box. Now we'll finish up with the oddity. It is buried in tape. I have the scissors right at hand here, and it is postmarked from Athens. Athens, Greece, which is an amazing place. It is, of course, an amazing place. You don't get much more storied in Western America, in Western human history. I have been to Athens many, many times, and yet, if you were to ask me what my pressing memory of Athens is, my most prominent memory of Athens, I would gasp and say the heat. And yet, now, oh, what I wouldn't give. I remember one time years and years ago, probably in the 1970s or 1980s or something like that, I was in Athens with a couple of old friends, and they were going on and on about Athens' historical cachet and whatnot, and they paused, because they knew that I knew the history fairly well. They paused and said, "Well, what do you think?" And I remember still, to this day, thinking that what I said at the time I said, what I think is that it's 300 degrees Fahrenheit right now. I said, how is that even possible? Okay, hi, Bean. Oh, goodness. What you doing? The Bean is very interested in this box. What have we got here, baby girl? Oh, that's right. Oh, my. Oh, that's right. Oh, no wonder. Okay. Okay. All right. This is indeed from one of you. And it's full of books. But right on the top, the thing that got the Bean's attention is that there's also a dog treat. And the note says, "Needless to say, I hope these are for Frida." I won't deny that I occasionally have tried my hand at a dog treat. They can be quite tasty. Here, let's use the scissors again. Obviously, if I'm doing this right in front of you, you have to have one of these. Let's see. Let's just cut that and give the Bean one of these things and see what her reaction is. So what have we got here? These are dental effects, veggie brand dental effects. An avocado dental stick. Oh my God, you're going to be a little hipster schnauzer. Okay, well, let's see here. Let's see if you go for your avocado denti stick. Wait till you see the books, though. The books are... Frida and I are both going to be pleased by this. So, All right, off she goes. She will explore on her own. But wait till you see the human part of this. Oh, man. Once again, for the second time this month, I have received a gigantic container full of Signet Regency romances from Athens. I ask you. Incredible. All right, so the first one right off the top here is not a oh, there's a bookmark with a tassel, and it's got dogs on it. Incredible. Oh, you people are so nice to me. The first one is not a Signet Regency romance. It's a Fawcett Regency romance, but I've read some of those that I really like. This is Miss Prentice and the Yankee. And look at that. He's got buckskins, so you know he's a Yankee. Well, I don't even know where I'm going to put these things here. I'll make a pile. Because I don't think Frida's going to bother the mail now that she has something to chew on. Then we have In My Lady's Chamber by Laura Matthews. Look at that. The old-style Signet Regency romances had these wonderful painted covers with wonderful backgrounds. And then they mostly changed to photographic covers. We'll probably see some of those. Then by the great Mary Balow, this is Christmas Belle. Regency, the Christmas season is very popular in Regency romances. Writers love to do that. Then Laura Matthews, A Prudent Match. Then a double. Oh, this is double. This is Signet Regency romances, but it's 2 in 1 book. This is by Lynn Kirsten. First one is Celia's Grand Passion, and the second one is Lucy in Disguise. Look at that. Look at the two of them. And then this next one is also a double. This is by Elizabeth Mansfield. Oh, she's very good. She's very good. And these are both Regency Christmas novels. The first one is A Christmas Kiss, and the second one is Winter Wonderland. 2 novels in the book. Fantastic. Oh, my. All right, it just keeps going, so we're going to keep going on here. Then the next one is Laura Matthews. Okay, this is a very proper widow. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. Then what else we got here? This next one is a Signet. Oh, what is this? Okay, is this a Regency at all? Or is this Georgian? No, this is a Regency. Wow, I don't recognize the design at all here. This is a Signet, but it's not a Signet Regency romance. It might be before they started bringing out their specifically Regency line. It's just a Signet novel called Allegra by Claire Darcy. Doesn't have the see, with these you've got they actually say what they are on the cover, and this one doesn't. So this is just Allegra. I wonder if maybe it's from the UK. No, it's from 1974. That's considerably early. The Signet Regency romance line is mainly a creature of the 80s, so it might be that it was before they actually made a line of them. Then we have Emma Lang. She's fantastic. I have a whole bunch of hers, but I don't have this one. This is A Certain Reputation. Look at the two of them there, huh? With that painted background. See the way the light is falling. I tell you, if you haven't tried a Regency romance, you've never been in the mood for one, this cover is going to look like the most boring kind of book in the world. But I tell you, they're so good. Oh, are you done with your avocado stick already? Oh my God, she is. She's done with it already. It's gone. Well, I take it that means it was a success. But baby, you're only going to get one of those at a time. Okay, this next one is by Diane Farr, and it's called Fair Game. He is helping her with apples. He has a very 1980s hairdo. And there's a dog down at the bottom there. And then, what have we got? Oh, this last one. Okay, this last one is a hardcover. It's by Elizabeth. I honestly cannot. The typeface on the cover is so ornate that I honestly cannot read her name. But the copyright information says Linnington. It's from 1957. Elizabeth Linnington. And it's called The Anglophile. It's hardcover. No, babies, just sit back. Wow. Okay, this is a hardcover book club edition of a Regency. Son of a gun. Okay. Don't think I've ever read a hardcover Regency before. Well, okay, what an epic way to end a mail haul. Good Lord. So we have dog treats, one of which went down like gangbusters with Frida just then. I have a dog bookmark now. Look at that. That is great. No, baby, there's only one more of these. We want to save it. You don't want to just eat your treats all at once. It's tough having a little one. All right, so this is the the book pile here. How are we going to do this? We'll do it with the big normal hardcovers first. So we have 30-Year Genocide. A tough subject, but I recommend the book. Then Gropius. I recommend this author. Fiona McCarthy is fantastic. I don't know about the book. I'm sure the book will be good. I'll just be gritting my teeth the whole time. Then Why They Marched. History of some of the lesser-known architects of the suffrage movement. Then Glory and Its Litany of Horrors. A King Lear-esque tragedy in Rio de Janeiro and an aging writer. Then we have The Anglophile. An old hardcover Regency romance, and then a bunch of Regency paperbacks. Oh, how incredible. Just one after another after another. I swear, in the last 2 weeks, my number of Regencies has tripled. It's incredible. Oh, look at all these. It's amazing. Oh my. That is our mail haul for today. How wonderful. All right, well, you know who you are who sent that. I cannot thank you enough. Oh my. All right. I've got a lot of books to glom over, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.